This council meeting of June 21st, 2022 is called to order, and I will lead us in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Donna, would you do a roll call, please?
Member Bo,
Here.
Councilmember Sherman,
Here.
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Here.
Mayor Nesco,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schmidt,
Here.
Councilmember McDowell,
Present.
and Councilmember Peterson.
Here.
All right. Do council have any board reports? No, I'm sorry. Do we have any late changes? I'm skipping a page. Nope. And do we have any board reports to share? I'm just excited to be heading to Vancouver after this meeting for our AWC conference, Association of Washington Cities.
And I'll say second to that.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as published. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as published. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carries. All right, this is our general public comment time. Donna, do we have anybody interested in making public comment?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. Our first public comment is Dean Jewett.
I'll concede to Mrs. Jack.
Good evening, council. My name is Jackie Jewett and I live here in Shelton, and thank you for allowing me to have my 3 minutes, I suppose. Okay, so I have been familiarizing myself with the city ordinances as well as the code of conduct of the city council. But I want to focus on a couple of ordinances that I discovered. And I would just like to share my thoughts about them. So the first one that I have here is basically the public camping ordinances that we have in place here in Shelton. And so it is chapter 8, I think. So it's 8.74 public camping prohibited, and then it gives definitions. And so I'm sure that you're all familiar with this ordinance, but it does say that there's no overnight camping in a tent, a hut, a lean-to, or other temporary shelters or structures. And it says also that when they're asked to comply to remove their camp, that it could be a misdemeanor. It also could result in up to 90 days in jail. And it also could result in a, what am I trying to say? Oh yeah, $1,000 fine. So those things, and it also says that won't take place until there are some actions that the city takes first. And so basically it says, when it's enforced, that the city and Shelton employee will make contact with the violator and advise them that they're public camping, and the violator either does not remove their camp off of the different public properties within the city. So a Shelton employee informs the violator of available indoor shelter and takes responsible steps to help the violator access the indoor shelter. It also says in the ordinances that the city employee will pay for transportation if there is not shelter available. So we did a little bit of research about shelters, not only here in Shelton, but also in Olympia. And so I think that Dean sent you all some information based on shelters, availability, times, day or night. So I was just wondering if we do offer those to these people. The other thing that I want to address is the idea of environmental concerns. So they have blankets, they have paraphernalia, they have cigarettes, they're using the restroom outside. It flows into our water streams, it gets into our soil. So there's just so many things to think about. And our ordinances that we have now should probably be enforced. Thank you.
Are you going to talk or no?
Oh, absolutely.
You're next.
Dean Jewett, lifelong Mason County member. Just to kind of reiterate on what my wife was talking about, I mean, I found that information in about 7.2 nanoseconds. So it doesn't take any time at all to put a little bit of time and effort into finding shelters that are available. If you're in Seattle and somebody needs to find a shelter, it can take 27 minutes to go 8 blocks. It takes 20 minutes to get on a bus from Shelton to find a shelter at Olympia. They have many more resources available. So, and we already have a coalition. Mason County, Thurston County, Lewis County, we do Kitsap housing. So we already have a coalition. So it would be nothing to go that avenue. And they have better resources than what we have here. Okay. Some other concerns that I have, and I pass this on to Mr. Knighton and some of you, is the city app. And we're going on about 2 weeks on the city app. And I've sent Shannon, I've sent people information about this. This app has either been updated or it has been physically, somebody went in and changed settings. So let's find out the directive of who did, and let's change it back, because it doesn't work right now. And it is very easy for a citizen to use that app and get information to all of you guys versus throwing out all your emails and sending it that way. But if that's what you want me to do, I can absolutely do that as well. So I also cannot any longer take the city of Shelton, because all you have to do is type in Deidre's name, Joe's name, Eric's name, pops up on Facebook and you tag them. So either they've unfollowed me or something has changed on that aspect as well. So I'd like to see some investigation onto that. Because I can all my documentation. I'm an IT guy. I started high-speed cable stuff. I know what I'm talking about. And when it doesn't work, I know what I'm talking about. Some might label me a conspiracy theorist. Crazy thing about conspiracy theorists, when we're proven right 50 years into the future, we were right all along. So, possession of stolen property, shopping carts. Let's stop that. If we see a shopping cart, that is stolen property. Why are we not collecting those? I happen to have, if most of you guys don't know, probably a collection of a dozen of them right now. And I'm going to make a point with them. So we need to do something about the shopping carts, panhandling, park timeframes. I understand that Mark might have had some conversations about parks. Neyland Park has timeframes. Let's put timeframes in all of the parks. I just got flipped off by some individuals in Brewer City Park because they didn't like me showing a picture. You know, these things have been reported time and time again. It's not up to Dean Jewett to go clean up these parks. And I've done it numerous times. I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Hello, everyone. This is my first time speaking in one of these meetings, so if I seem terribly nervous, it's because I am. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Athena Ayers. I'm the Executive Director for Community Lifeline. We are the only low barrier emergency shelter for all of Mason County. Currently, we're only operating on a 14-bed capacity. Over the last 2 years, our homeless population has increased by 129%, with a total count of 254 individuals in Mason County as of February 2022. With a 14-bed capacity versus a 254 count of our homeless population and that population climbing, I agree that we definitely need to do more and have more available. If the complaint is that these people are on private public property and that they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing, then they should have at least one place that they're allowed to be 24 hours a day without judgment, that they can be supervised and they can be off of, you know, our city streets or out in front of our businesses and those sorts of things. If we don't provide at least one place for those people to go, which should be Community Lifeline, then you're going to continue to see that problem grow. And you're going to continue to see people standing in places or sitting in parks that you don't want to see them because they literally have nowhere else to go. 254 people are not just going to poof and disappear. In 2020, that number was only 111. And that has undoubtedly increased due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I don't need to take up too much time, but I'm certainly willing to work with all of you. I'm certainly willing to work with you, even if we have differing opinions. We share a common interest in cleaning up our community and cleaning up our streets. And I'm willing to work with anybody who's interested in the topic to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have one public comment via Zoom.
Okay.
We have Colleen Carmichael.
Hi, I'm Colleen Carmichael. I'm the Executive Director for Quixote Communities, and I'm one of the local homeless housing providers. I thought it would be beneficial to talk a little bit more statistically about what's happening and why we're seeing more homeless. Researchers at the U.S. Government Accountability Office estimated that a $100 increase in median rent was associated with a 9% increase in the estimated homeless rate. In inflation-adjusted terms, the Zillow Observed Rent Index reports that the median rent increased by 15.9% in the last 12 months nationwide. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that the average hourly earning actually decreased 3% over the year when adjusted by inflation. According to the latest U.S. Census Household Pulse Survey, which tracks how the COVID-19 pandemic has been impacting people's lives in the United States, 8.8 million were behind in their rent payments from April 27th through May 9th. This represents a 1.7 million of individuals from the same week a year ago. More than 60% were behind only 2 months rent or less, suggesting that even a little rental assistance could help catch them up. And another 30% of people were more deeply in arrears, being at least 3 months behind. Nearly half of those falling behind on rent also reported that they were somewhat likely or very likely to be evicted, the majority of whom were Hispanic or Black. 1 out of every 10 renters was not at all confident in their ability to pay the following month's rent. This sentiment is largely due to these individuals not earning enough to cover their living expenses and not from unemployment. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition estimates that 23 state grantees are on track to exhaust both rounds of their emergency rental assistance funding by year's end. Smart use of the remaining emergency rental assistance and Corona state and local fiscal recovery funds programs is critical. In the meantime, federal and local leaders must do everything they can to make existing resources available, equitable, and accessible to help low-income renters stay. We hope to continue to provide more statistical information at the city council meetings. We are proud to be part of the Homeless Task Force, and we look forward to working with others in the community to be part of the solution, and we thank you.
Thank you.
That was our last public comment.
Thank you, Donna. We are recessing from a regular meeting to open a public hearing. Interim Finance Director Terry Fisher has information as regarding supplemental to our 2022 budget.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. So each year the previous year, we pass an ordinance for our next year's budget. So tonight I'm bringing you a supplemental budget to our current 2022 budget. So this is required for council to approve the supplemental to increase the expenditures to our current levels. So I'm going to go to Exhibit B a little bit. It might be easier for me just to highlight a few of these items. So the first section up above is basically related to our labor and a lot of the union contracts, but especially to a police retention bonus. And to clarify, what's on this exhibit is 3,000 for the current officers and to retain our current police officers, 3,000 for the first year, 4,000 for the next year, and then in 2025, 7,000 to hopefully keep these police officers here in the city of Shelton. And then we have the post office park. This 40,000 is to finalize the purchase of the post office park from the U.S. Postal Service. And then we have 50,000 additional dollars being used for the Civic Center parking lot. And this is basically due to the cost of materials, the construction costs that we're all seeing everywhere. We have, again, I'm just highlighting a few of these. So the FCS group, the equipment rental replacement program study, that is, council approved that last year at the very end of last year, towards the end. So this is just carrying on the contract for the rest of this year. That study has been completed, basically for to help our asset management to utilize our asset management in a way that we can afford future assets. And then our Western Gateway. This is across, you know, from a general fund to the water, sewer, storm. And this is definitely caused by the increase in the construction materials. That is we want to continue this project, and we're hoping that council can approve the supplemental. So if you guys have any questions in regards to a specific item, I'd be happy to answer it.
Don't have anyone set public comment.
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
Can we have a reading of ordinance number 1989-0522?
Ordinance number 1989-0522. An ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, amending the annual budget for the year ending December 31st, 2022.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move that we forward ordinance number 1989-0522, July 5th, City Council meeting for further consideration.
Second. All right, comments and questions?
I did. On the retention, have you guys seen what other people are doing? Because, gosh,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing $30,000 bonuses and things like that. I know we don't have that to offer, but
Yeah,
I mean, is that going to be competitive enough to keep people?
I'm happy to address that. So we were seeing offers from other jurisdictions close by for $25,000, $26,000, $30,000 in some cases. And because we knew that we couldn't afford that for 1, 2, or 3 new officers, and because we wanted to make sure that we show our current officers how much we value and appreciate their work that they do for our community, we wanted to flip the script on those bonus offers for other agencies that are seeking laterals. So we wanted to show how much we value and appreciate our current officers and do it in a way where that we would be fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' dollars and retaining those officers that we have that know our community so well and that go out and do the work every day. So we thought this was the best way to approach that. And while we're still looking for laterals, we are also expanding opportunities to look for new hires, which comes with substantial cost as well, because you have to pay to put them through the academy. And those officers typically aren't ready to be on their own for about a year. So we need to make sure that we address those deficiencies when we have them. And this is the best way we thought we could do it, because we certainly can't afford to match the 30 grand for each new lateral as they come in.
Thank you.
Questions or comments?
I appreciate the digest, the exhibit A and how that's formatted. It's really useful to pull that out and ask questions. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to forward ordinance number 1989-0522 to the July 5th city council meeting for further consideration. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? The motion carries. This public hearing is closed and we'll resume a regular meeting. Community Development Director Mark Ziegler has information for us updating chapter 18 of the Shelton Municipal Code.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. Tonight, I'm bringing back chapter 18, which is Construction Administrative Code, for approval, if you so wish. No changes have been made since the briefing on June 7th. As we mentioned on June 7th, this is a section of the code that has grown as far as pages, but the intent is to provide more clarity, provide more information to our local development community so they can navigate a document that is not the entire International Building Code, International Fire Code, International Residential Code, Plumbing Code, so on, so on. So this provides some more clarity from what our previous code provided to us. There's no changes within the flood management portion of this, which takes up a significant amount of this section of the municipal code. We did hear two questions from the council at the June 7th. It wasn't that long ago, right? One was regarding a manufactured home age. So our current code requires a manufactured home to be placed on a single family residential lot at no greater than 5 years old. Now, a manufactured home can be placed within a manufactured home park that's older than that, back to 1976 even, if appropriate. But currently, manufactured homes on single family lots are required to be at least 5 years, no more than 5 years old. We did a little more research into this, into the intent of the code. We don't have the institutional knowledge to understand why that was adopted here. So we can assume, make some assumptions that when manufactured homes get older than that, they tend not to be as well maintained. They tend to move, right? And so you might see some degradation of these facilities. Some of the other communities that I looked at, both around the area, South Sound area, and that are similar size to us, they varied. A lot of them only required new manufactured homes to be placed on single family lots. Again, they had different requirements for manufactured home parks. Some required them to meet existing code, including energy code. And I feel like that would be kind of it'd be more difficult, I guess, for staff and the applicant to determine if they meet current energy code, because that can change every 3 years, rather than just having a deadline of 5 years or whatever that might be. Just provides more certainty to the applicant and to the city, how we can accept those applications for a manufactured home. Saw another community within our local area that was at 5 years. And again, some didn't have any age requirement for their manufactured homes at all. So again, we're certainly happy to address this in the future or come back to you at a later date if you'd like to see some changes to that portion of the code.
Thank you.
The other comment or question that was asked the last meeting was specific to fire suppression systems and the cost of fire suppression systems. And we'll have to bring that back to the council at a later date. It's a little more involved than just the suppression system. I think, as many of you know, there could be a separate meter that needs to be set. There could be the upsizing of a meter. The suppression system varies greatly from the use and the size of the building. So we're looking at some resources, we'll set some meetings with some other departments, our utility department, and specifically the water department, to see what kind of options are there. I know our fire marshal has looked into some options, including whether there's some tax incentives at the federal level for installation of these systems, and maybe options like that we can bring forward to the council and to the community to make them more aware of what kind of programs are out there and available to them. So we'll have that at a later date for you.
Question.
All right. We have anybody sign up for public comment?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 1988-0522 as presented.
All right, comments and questions. Councilmember McDowell.
Yes. So why is it no older than 5 years?
You know, we couldn't find exactly why. Again, I think it was a maintenance issue. I think the city was looking at determining a standard of time that these facilities might degrade, these structures might degrade. And I'll give you some personal experience. We've had a lot of calls within the last 5 years of models in the 80s and 70s that want to move here because they're being regulated out of the communities. These tend to be kind of, I think, maybe Mayor Nisco mentioned the tin box manufactured home at the last meeting. And they tend not to fit in a single family neighborhood residential type community like that. They might not be maintained appropriately. They might not meet some of the existing standards of a 312 pitch. Have to have, you know, specific siding, meet energy code. So that's our best kind of explanation on why that 5-year determination was made some time ago.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a sec. I'm sorry.
I see that I forgot to suggest we should ask for a reading.
Oh, yeah, it's not on there. May I have a reading of 1988-0522.
Ordinance number 1988-0522. Ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, repealing and replacing Title 18 of the Shelton Municipal Code relating to building and construction.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1988-0522 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are down to our city manager report. Jeff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of council. A couple things for you tonight. The first is I wanted to mention that both City Clerk Donna Nault and the administrative assistant Carrie Holloway attended municipal clerks training last week. We're all we're all able to get back to our training regimens so that we could add value to the city through our work. It was a great time. We learned a lot of stuff. Met a bunch of other people, which is incredibly important. Met a bunch of other people who do the same job, which is incredibly important when you want to bounce ideas off of others that know the work that you do. So I think that was an incredibly valuable conference for both of our teammates and for the city as a whole. So
And Mary did a great job filling in.
And Mary, yeah, she did. Also, as Mayor Ernesto mentioned earlier, tonight actually starts the Association of Washington Cities Annual Conference. Something that we have not been able to do since 2019, I believe. So we're able to get back in person at this point down in Vancouver, and I think everyone that's attending is looking forward to it. So we'll be leaving right after this meeting concludes. And then I also wanted to mention at your next council meeting, I wanted to make sure that we show you the progress that we have made on the software initiatives that we have, including EnerGov and NeoGov onboarding, all those various tools, perhaps a little bit of our website, although it won't be fully functional yet, but I want you and the public to see what it looks like. You've invested considerable resources in those smart technologies, and we want to show you the progress that we've made so far. It's been a lot of work, and Director Ziegler behind me deserves a lot of credit for the implementation of the EnerGov system. It's working relatively well. Like any new software program, there's going to be some bugs, but I'm sure it will serve the community well long term. Lastly, we did convene a homelessness task force, and the first meeting for that is next Tuesday. And we have several meetings scheduled so far, and we'll talk to the group next Tuesday as we get that started. But that's intended to bring concrete recommendations to this council about what we can do to address this issue within the resources that we have available. So that'll get started next week, and I'm looking forward to updating you on that progress as the committee moves along. And that's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for city manager? No? Well, Then,
Comment?
or,
I think I'm actually about to pay for my first permit through that, through the system. So, excited about, other than how much it is, but I'm excited to use it.
all right. Our next council meeting will be Tuesday, July 5th at 6 p.m. We also have a study session June 28th at 6 p.m. This meeting is adjourned at 6:30 p.m.